Hey everybody, I'm Kelsey Anderson. Dave Graber is here with me as well, and Karen Cuddy of Home of My Own in Western New York. Karen, give us your title.
I am the president of the board of directors for Home of My Own of Western New York.
Very good. And we are inside one of the apartments. So you're probably wondering, what is this? Karen, I'm going to have you explain exactly what Home of My Own is. It is a nonprofit organization, and we're here because you just got a large grant from the Golisano Foundation to help with what you're doing here. Explain, what is Home of My Own?
So we're very excited. Home of My Own is focused on independent living options for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities who have both the capacity and the desire to live with independence. So we have been, through the purchase of this complex a few years ago, been able to remodel and update 12 apartments in this setting. There are 3 buildings, 4 apartments in each building, and create the opportunity for individuals who have both, again, the capacity and the desire to live with independence, the opportunity to do so, but to do so among a community of their peers where they're not feeling a sense of isolation or they're not living under the kind of rules and regulations that would normally be part of a certified settings space.
And these apartments are sort of part of a typical neighborhood that you would see. How long has this program been in existence? Because it seems like folks are really settled in.
So that's a great question, and let me clarify. We're not a program.
Yeah.
We are literally landlords.
Thank you.
So our nonprofit was established in January of 2020.
Tough.
Note the timing, right?
A little difficult time there.
So the fact that we are actually able to bring this to fruition within 6 years, just prior to a pandemic, really speaks to the vision, mission, and the values of not only Home of My Own and what's so critical. So we were able to purchase this property through some significant private funding, private donations, and angel loans in order to be able to secure the property. We then needed to seek grant funding for a lot of the renovations. We have just shy of $1 million worth of renovations. We've got about $500,000 worth of those renovations in. But we are still seeking funding because all 3 roofs need to be repaired.
Of course.
We want to make sure, while we do have a Golisano funding that I want to share with you in a minute, we do have renderings for the social space of our lower levels, but the other half of our buildings, in each of the buildings, is laundry and storage. We want to make that more user-friendly, more pleasant to be in. And we also have a lot of recreational areas outside that we want to create and improve, including sidewalk structures, safety issues, parking lots, etc. So this has been, as landlords, we purchased the property, and we are able to now create the opportunity for tenants to come in and rent as individuals, but we don't provide a service.
Sure.
We don't provide a program. We are here to create the opportunity for community of peers that doesn't exist elsewhere, but we do believe it is the next major change in disability awareness and community growth.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is amazing.
It is. It's so great. And you can see everything is really new. Can we take a look at the space?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you come into the living space, which you can see is wonderful. And
awesome.
the young woman who lives here really has an impeccable taste of
She
fashion.
really does.
She does.
I walked in here immediately and I said, it just feels
cozy.
cozy in
Yeah.
here. I don't know if it's like the thick carpet or what, but
It's wonderful,
nice.
right?
Great.
So it has a living space, obviously a dining area. We remodeled all of the kitchens.
Very nice.
Great.
So this has been a big undertaking and obviously a little bit of an expense. The original kitchens were cut off here. We blew out a wall. We wanted to add more light
Openness.
and cabinetry, etc. So that's a very nice area. If we come back here, we've updated the bathrooms in each of the 12 spaces.
It's really nice.
Isn't it?
This is great. So I just want people to really be aware of what we're talking about here. So once a person with a disability goes through high school, sometimes they can go to a college program. And then after that, sometimes there really isn't a ton of opportunity for that person, you know, obviously job opportunities and that sort of thing, but they end up staying at home sometimes, but they really want that independence. This creates that independence for them. They are young adults who want to be out into the world, hang out with their peers, hang out with boyfriends, that sort of thing, and they want that independence. So this is a young woman who's 22 years old, doesn't really want to live with mom and dad, just like you didn't want to live with mom and dad when you were 22. And this is creating that community. And you have a wonderful landlord who understands, your situation as well.
Absolutely, and you really spoke to it. As I mentioned prior to the real interview, if you will, before it began, in 1999, the Olmstead Act was a federal legislation that really led to the reduction or elimination of institutionalization, which is wonderful and good and well-intentioned and was definitely needed. That had a huge impact on the field of education and the movement toward including all kids in his general education setting to the best of their abilities. The unintended consequence to which you were speaking is upon graduation, where they have been included in their peers, they watch their peers at graduation go off to college and careers. They themselves have limited options. Many are then subjected to living or dependent upon their own parents for transportation, entertainment, even communication to and from job, or, as you mentioned, this young lady attends classes through the People in Court program at Buff State, where she audits a number of classes of her choice. So yes, she has the capacity and the desire to live with independence, but she doesn't want to live alone.
Right.
So this gives her her own space, and she has community of peers. And we have one more bedroom. This is the spare bedroom, and her master is
Her master
right
is
next
so
door.
cute.
It is so great.
So again,
You guys
full
are
of
gonna get a kick
color
out
and
of this.
vibration,
Look at that.
I love it. This rug is awesome.
Isn't
Oh
it?
my goodness, it is
Isn't
so
it
soft.
fabulous?
That comfort
This is fantastic.
looks amazing.
Yeah.
It is. Great.
So
All right,
Love
let's
it.
go out and show the Golisano renderings, foundation
Beautiful.
renderings. So these three buildings are obviously housing the wonderful apartments that are all renovated and beautiful and redone. But on the first floor, there isn't a lot going on. So you are creating even more community for these folks, and you can do so by this large grant. Tell us how much the grant was worth and what you're doing with it.
So the grant was just under $240,000. And the critical piece is, while we selected this location because it is in a neighborhood where our tenants have the opportunity to do grocery shopping and entertainment, et cetera, we still want them to have the opportunity to come together with their tenant peers, their friends. I mean, it's not just their tenants, they have friends over. But through the Golisano Foundation, we're going to be able to renovate each one of the half of each of the lower levels with a different space for each one. These are initial renderings. We do have final renderings going in process right now through the architect so that we can really refine the prices and cost. But you can see that one area of one building is going to be really focused on the gathering space, the socialization. It's the Bills game, it's the Super Bowl, let's come together, or holiday gatherings, etc. In another building, the focus is really going to be on fitness and the health and well-beingness of the opportunity to stay in shape.
And you're going to have like equipment and stuff like that. Is that part of the purchase?
No, the
Okay.
the Golisano funding will cover the cost of the renovations of the
Renovations.
space,
Got
but
it.
we are still going to need to raise funds for the purchase of the furniture, and the equipment that we will need in each of the space.
Good.
And then the third lower level space is going to be more of I'm going to call it to address that intellectual opportunity. We want to be able to bring our tenants together in something that we refer to as our life hacks. And that's an opportunity to help support them because they are living independently, many of them for the very first time. If there is an opportunity for them to help their peers with budgeting, groceries, good health and well-being, menus, or even just coming together to have a speaker. We have a space here that will be created for that kind of learning opportunity for them. So we're very excited. The three lower levels will really bring our mission of community to life here. But again, we are still seeking the funding to be able to bring the inside of it, the furniture, the equipment, et cetera, to fruition as well.
All right, so my next question, if people want to donate either funds or potentially brand new furniture, where can they do so? How can they get a hold of you?
That would be magnificent. We do have a website, Home of My Own of Western New York. It's pretty easy to go to, and we do have a donate button there. We have an Amazon wish list as well. We have a number of fundraisers that we have coming up. A lot of small fundraisers like a chicken barbecue, etc., that help to support the in-betweens, the larger grants and bigger donations, etc. But we also have a QR code if somebody wants to go and follow to the website directly.
Okay.
How many of these are there around Western New York? Or is this one of one sort of grouping of?
To our knowledge, it's one of one.
Great.
When we established our nonprofit foundation in 2020, we did a lot of research.
Yeah.
There are places like this in different states: Arizona, Florida, the Washington area, etc. So we believe, again, it is the motion of the future, because this is the next step in disability awareness and building community. But for Western New York, we do believe we are the first foundation to actually be able to bring this to fruition. It's a significant modification of our original goal.
Sure.
Our original goal was to create an apartment complex of 40 to 50 apartments. And we looked at a number of properties. However, the funding for that would have been close to $12 to $15 million, and we weren't quite getting there with our chicken barbecues.
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
In the pandemic.
Yeah. Shavetta's only been so far in the pandemic.
so we are hoping that this not only creates the opportunity for a successful model, but now that we have brought the vision to life, we are hoping that as we seek the next step, once we, take care of the roof and the other things here, make sure that this is good and solid and we have a legacy, if you will. We also need legacy funding to make sure that future repairs are taken care of, et cetera. But once we have all of that well established, we do want to continue and either build more or secure more or build bigger or secure bigger, because this complex of 12 apartments does not fill the need for Western New York.
I was going to ask, that was my next question. How is the need? Because
the need is mammoth.
Wow.
The need is mammoth, and the need is mammoth across New York State.
Sure.
There is a housing crisis on a lot of areas. But one can imagine that individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, regardless of what level they graduate upon, they are not likely to seek or be able to obtain competitive income, which means affordable housing is critical. When affordable housing cannot access state or federal funds to create such a community as this, it all has to be the privately funded situations. When we have looked at those individuals on wait lists for certified housing, which are the state and federal funded locations, we have a mixed group of numbers, somewhere between 5,000 and 11,000 waiting for placement.
1,000?
Oh my God.
1,000
11,000 people waiting for placement?
waiting for placement.
Just in this region?
Across the
Statewide.
state.
Okay, that's
Across the
still
state.
significant.
It
numbers.
is significant. You can imagine hundreds here. And because it takes, and often it's an urgent or emergent placement for those individuals to actually get housing. So the parents, they graduate from high school, they're dependent upon their parents are then aging, and usually disability or death causes for an urgent placement, and that places them into a certified housing kind of under critical spaces, which is not necessarily good math. Good math or good match. So this creates two things. One, when we create an opportunity for individuals with the capacity and the desire to live with independence, the opportunity to live with independence, we also open up a bed for those people who do need more supervision, do need more support, do need capacity and programming for daily living skills. So we can open up housing for individuals with capacity, as well as individuals who have greater needs in the housing that we would otherwise have taken up with that. But we have a wait list already. We have a huge level of interest, and we've only been open for a year. So this is definitely something that is just the beginning. But we absolutely need to spread the vision, spread the mission, spread the understanding, and spread the knowledge in order for us to be able to move on to the next, because Hopefully bigger will be better, and we'll be able to provide more support to those who are in need.
All right. I can imagine the wait list is large because this is a nicer apartment than I used to live in, you know. So thank you so much for explaining this. If people want to help with this mission, they need funds. They could use furniture because they are putting those spaces downstairs. What, again, is the website to go to, Karen?
Home of My Own of Western New York.
All right. Very good. Thank you so much for watching this segment. We are going to go back to the studio now to talk with Jonah about sports. He's talking about Haley Skamura, who scored 2 goals yesterday. Other Olympians potentially from Western New York. We have Bills, we have Sabres, we have Bandits. We have a lot to talk about there. We will see you in just a couple minutes.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Here we are on a Friday, so let's get right into sports with Jonah. A lot to get to in the second half. Let's begin, perhaps, I guess, maybe with the newest thing that has been happening. Sabres packed house last night at KeyBank. Everybody was super excited. However, it did seem like, I don't know if they didn't show up or Pittsburgh really showed up. 5-2 on the losing end last night.
Well, the fans showed up. It was the 11th sellout of the year, an Olympic send-off for Tage Thompson going with Team USA, Rasmus Dahlin with Sweden. General manager Jarmo Kekalainen is with the Finnish team. He's an assistant general manager for that team. They had former Sabre and former U.S. Olympian from the Miracle on Ice team, Phil Housley, drop the puck. Bill Fichtner banging the drum in a Tage Thompson USA hockey jersey, some fun videos and things like that. So there was a lot of Olympics-related fun going into it.
Very cool.
The game didn't go so well for the Sabres and the Sabres fans going into this break, and now the Sabres will have 3 weeks off to rue consecutive losses and losing 3 of the past 4 games and losing some of that momentum. They're still in a playoff position. They're still in a good spot to make the playoffs, but after it was the best 24-game stretch in franchise history and the second best 24-game stretch of any NHL team in the past 25 years, and the only one that was better, Chicago Blackhawks, when they won the Stanley Cup in 2013. So the Sabres were playing like a Stanley Cup contender. Alex Tuck even said it. We're not going just for the playoffs. We're going for the cup.
Yeah.
But over the past 6 days or so, the Sabres started to play more like a team that's trying to squeak in the playoffs and not necessarily a cup contender. Right.
Okay, I mean, they definitely have the talent.
I think so.
I loved when we played Florida. Kachuk said, they're just more skilled than us. And he looked so defeated. And Josh Reed put it on air and said, these guys look like the Sabres did a few months ago.
Right.
So, I mean, the talent is definitely there. Maybe just some wear and tear type stuff. And so now they have 2 weeks off, except for, you know, the few guys who are headed to the Olympic break. What can the Olympic break do to a team that's hot or do to a team that's slow? You know, what can it do? Either give you momentum, or have you seen teams kind of fall off the ledge?
Well, it's different every year. You know, there's not the Olympics every year. It's an every 4-year thing.
Duh.
NHL players haven't been playing in the Olympics in the past few cycles. It's been, I think, 12 years since the NHL players have played in that. Now, there have been breaks for different international competitions and the All-Star break and things like that. I think the Sabres will benefit from this break. They're going to get some players healthy. They're going to get some rest. Some of their losses that they've incurred lately, I think, were because this was a tough stretch of playing 4 games in 6 days and a back-to-back road trip down in Florida. They've had some injuries. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who was on an Olympic roster, and now he's not going to go.
Sad.
He has some time to get healthy. Josh Norris, who's been out of the lineup, he'll come back, and you know, he's almost healthy now. He'll be healthy when they come back. Connor Timmins, a defenseman. Michael Kesselring, a defenseman who's playing but needs some time to rest to get healthy. Yuri Kulik, we're not so sure if he's going to come back at all this season, but this 3-week break might increase the chances of him being able to get it back on the ice at some point this season. And any player that's dealing with some wear and tear or fatigue, you know, all of that's going to go away. And Alex Lyon said this last night, and I think it's true, that the Sabres now have 3 weeks to think about being better and the sting of the loss. And that might help them mentally coming out of this break more so than if they were riding high and just thinking about how great they are and making their playoff plans too early. So I think in a way that's going to help the Sabres. The big thing is how does this Olympic break affect Tage Thompson and Rasmus Dahlin? Do they incur any injuries or fatigue or just not having the same rest that other players are going to have, the rest of the league is going to have? But at the same time, especially with Tage Thompson, sometimes you get a boost from playing in this level and being around the other great Olympian players, best on best, and players come out of that as better players and more confident players than they were before. And that could help Tage and Rasmus coming out of that. So we'll see how that goes.
Are they going to be buyers, you think, later in the season? And is that a possibility? And when does that start? How does that work?
Yeah, I think so. They won't be sellers. And I do think the Sabres, Jarmo Kekalainen, will try to add to this team and bolster it for the playoffs. I'm not so sure what he'll be able to get. And I think it'll be more fringe moves, defenseman depth, lower in the lineup forwards, and a big swing to bolster the top forwards or any star players. But I do think they are going to try to make acquisitions at the trade deadline and gear up for the playoffs however they can.
That date? What is that?
March 5th, I believe.
Got it. Okay.
All right, let's move to the rink across the pond. We're talking the Olympics. The opening games are tonight, but games have already started, and that includes women's ice hockey. And Haley Skamura, our local gal, she scored 2 goals yesterday in the very first game. And I think in her last Olympics, maybe she only scored 1 goal in the entire Olympics.
Right. Haley Skamura, Gettsville native, played at Nichols School, and has been a U.S. Olympian and a USA Hockey International player for a number of years, but wasn't a goal scorer. She's a defensive forward, a grinder, only had, as you mentioned, 1 goal in her previous Olympics, scored 2 goals yesterday. So she's already doubled that up, and maybe that's some of that effect, like I said about Tage Thompson, where playing with some of the best players in the world brings out the best in you. And I think just being an experienced player, knowing where to be, and at the right times. She only played 6-something minutes of ice time either. She wasn't really out there getting a lot of scoring opportunities, taking a lot of shots, but she was opportunistic and able to put the puck in the net and get off to a good start in these Olympics. And good to see that for her, good to see that for the team and the Team USA and the Americans.
What is the expectation for the Americans? How do they stack up against kind of the rest of the world?
They're the favorites. They're
Are
the
they?
best team in that sport.
Wow.
I don't know if it's a guarantee that they'll win, but it'll be disappointing if they don't. Although they don't always win.
Sure.
You know, they've had silver medals, but I think they'll be getting to that gold medal game and seeing how that goes against Canada probably and whether they win or lose.
They beat Czechia yesterday, by the way. Right. They play again tomorrow.
Yeah, they play again tomorrow against Finland at 10:40 in the morning, I believe, is when that puck drops.
All right, very good. Go, Haley. I said, Carl
fun.
was talking about her yesterday on air, and I said, you go, girl. And Carl looks at me like, are you talking about me? I said,
To
no.
clarify. That was funny.
Bandits are home tomorrow night.
Yeah.
The game's on 23.
Yeah, there we go. We don't have a commercial for that one.
CW23, we don't. And it's a special night for them, the Native American Heritage Game. So explain what that's about.
Native American Heritage Night, they do this every year. Something special they're doing this year. Clay Scanlon, a player on the team who's from the Cattaraugus Reservation down in Irving, and Gowanda High School he went to, and now he's a Buffalo Bandits player, and he designed the special jerseys that they're going to wear. They also have some programming with music and videos that they play and different things like that. And awesome. So it's a big night for Bandits fans, Bandits culture, Western New York culture, Native American culture, and lacrosse. And the Bandits, they've lost 3 in a row.
They don't seem to be as on firm footing as they have in seasons past.
Absolutely. They're dealing with some injuries, a bit of a slow start, and not getting a lot of practice time early on and integrating some of their new players. I think they'll turn it around, but they have turning around to do. They're not in a playoff spot right now. They have a losing record. Wow. Now, they play Philadelphia here. That's another team with an even lower record. Halifax next week has a losing record. So an opportunity for the Bandits to regain that footing and get into a better place. But it's an uphill climb for them to get top seeding and home playoff games and things like that as they go for a 4th straight championship.
Wow. Is it surprising because is it largely the same squad, or are we talking about a pretty different crew than has been successful in the past 4 years?
Well, it's surprising because they are the 3-time champions, and last year they were undefeated for 6 or 7 games going forward. But it's the margins are tight in this league. There's a lot of parity in this league. There's only about 15 teams, and there's good players on just about every team. The Bandits with a few injuries and a few roster changes, it's not totally out of the realm for them to lose. And 2 of their losses were very tight. Last week they lost 20-9. And I think they're going to turn it around and win more games and not be in this position a month or 2 from now. But it is a little surprising that they're not at the top of the standings, at the top of the league, and especially since they won the first 2 games and kind of looked like they were playing that way again early on.
All right, we have a few minutes left, so let's talk about the Bills, OC, and DC. We heard from them yesterday, so Joe Brady is filling out his coaching staff. let's start with the offensive coordinator. He had worked with Joe Brady for the Saints many years ago, and I thought it was interesting when he talked about this is Pete Carmichael.
That's a lot of panels.
I'm talking about
That's
that is
a lot of panels.
It's a lot of guys talking. Special teams coordinator as well. But Pete mentioned, he's excited to play with Josh Allen, but he almost talked more about working with Joe Brady and how when Joe Brady was starting out as a young coach, how impressive he was to so many people around him.
Yeah, we have more people talking on the screen right now than we have exclamation points. After my name.
That's a good point.
Yeah, Pete Carmichael had a lot of nice things to say about Joe Brady. They've worked together for a long time. When Joe Brady was a much younger coach, he brought him down to LSU to teach some of those coaches about run-pass options and called him a rock star. They could really tell that he had a bright future in coaching. And they've worked together before with the New Orleans Saints, and now he's coming back in a role that Pete Carmichael has done with Sean Payton before, being an offensive coordinator that doesn't call the plays but does some teaching and helps with the game planning. So there's a certain comfort level there. They respect each other, and Pete Carmichael is an experienced coach on the staff. He's never been a head coach before, but he spent a long time in this specific role for a very successful head coach. I think he knows how to be a value add on this staff for Joe Brady.
We have heard a lot, particularly over the past week or two, of the Sean Payton coaching tree. Joe Brady, Carmichael also from it, right? Those two, right? And others, I would imagine. What is it about that style of offense that has been able to, I guess, create good leaders and successful teams? What is it? Because it's like, you hear about, is it a West Coast style? Is it heavier running? Is it heavier throwing? What is it about that style of coaching that has created success?
It's a lot. It's pass heavy. A lot of the success was with Drew Brees, who's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Is that because Drew Brees is such a great quarterback, or did Sean Payton bring out the best of him? Drew Brees played with the San Diego Chargers before the New Orleans Saints and had success, but not the same level of success that he had with the Saints. Play action's a big part of that, so I think you'll see a little bit more of that. But I don't think we're going to see Sean Payton's offense as much as Joe Brady has been the offensive coordinator here and doing different things. There'll probably be some things different. Joe Brady mentioned every offense changes and evolves in the offseason. You can't just run the same plays. Teams catch up with that. But I think it's the Sean Payton influence, what's worked in his style and some of the nuances of his coaching that especially with Pete Carmichael come in, will be influenced on the Bills' offense. And also, Jim Leonard spent the past season on the Denver Broncos staff. Now, that's defense, so not necessarily the same thing with Sean Payton's coaching tree, but has experience, knows how Sean Payton runs a program and deals with players and things like that. So some of that Sean Payton dust is probably rubbed off on Jim Leonard, who's worked for a lot of other head coaches, Rex Ryan and things like that. So he knows different styles coming into this Bills operation here.
That's great.
All right. I think we have to wrap this up. Jonah, thank you so much
Thanks, Jonah.
for
Wait,
joining
who are we
us.
rooting for in the Super Bowl?
I don't know. Good appetizers.
Seahawks?
Good appetizers.
Good appetizers, good commercials. I'm going for the Seahawks. I lived in the
Yeah, I'm going
Pacific
with Seahawks.
Northwest for a while.
so,
Those
too.
fans remind me of Buffalo fans very much so. And I'm sorry, I just can't root for the Pats.
Cannot root for the Pats.
Yeah.
I hope it's not a blowout.
Yeah, I usually look for the Western New York connections, and there aren't too many with either of these teams. There are Buffalo Bills connections. The Patriots have more of those, more former Bills on both the playing roster and the coaching staff. Our old friend Doug Marone's the offensive line coach. Robert Kugler, who's not from Western New York, but he spent a season on the Bills practice squad. He's their assistant offensive line coach, and his father, Sean Kugler, is a Lockport native, so that's the closest thing to a Western New York connection that we can get. Leslie Frazier, Rick Dennison, those are on the Seahawks staff if you're looking for reasons to root for the Seahawks. And real quick, the Seahawks own some of their existence to the Buffalo Bills. Ralph Wilson wanted to move the Bills to Seattle back before they built the new stadium. Erie County stepped up, blocked that move from happening, and the NFL awarded the Seattle Seahawks expansion franchise because they weren't getting the Buffalo Bills as a relocation franchise. So,
So go Seahawks.
it could be in a different universe. This could be the Buffalo Bills that moved to Seattle now playing in
my
the Super Bowl
goodness.
50 years later.
Could be, I suppose.
All right. Enjoy your
Thanks,
food
Jonah.
on Sunday.
That's right.
We will see you on Monday.